Good afternoon everyone. Welcome to the today's episode of Daily News Analysis of NEXT IAS. Today is 19th August 2025. So let's start with the important topics of the day which we are going to discuss today. The first is introduction of Jan Vishwas Bill by the government in sync with its policy of minimum government, maximum governance, important from GS3 economy perspective. Second is regarding the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana and inoperative or dormant accounts in it, important from GS3 economy perspective. Third news is with respect to the unemployment rate data in India, important from GS3, issues related to Indian economy, growth, mobilization of resources as well as the employment. The fourth is with respect to the plastic pollution and global impasse related to the global plastic treaty, important from GS3, environmental conservation and pollution perspective. And the last one, that is decoded topic, is regarding the global hunger and the role of India in eradicating global hunger menace, important from GS2, issues related to the poverty and hunger perspective. So let's start. What is the backdrop of news? Introduction of Jan Vishwas Amendment Bill in 2025 in Parliament by the government, that is the Commerce Minister, and relevance is from GS3, ease of doing business. So what is the news? Let's go into its detail. Recently, Commerce Minister tabled the Jan Vishwas Amendment Bill 2025, which proposes to amend 355 provisions in and all and decriminalize 288 provisions relating to minor offences to make doing business easier. So, the 2025 bill builds on the Jan Vishwas Act of 2023, which decriminalized a 183 provision. So, this particular bill that has been introduced has already been referred to the select committee, which is expected to prepare the report on this particular Jan Vishwas bill by the first day of next session. So, basically what is the purpose of this Jan Vishwas bill? In sync with the government policy of minimum government and maximum governance, as well as making India as the best destination for ease of doing business, government has introduced Jan Vishwas Amendment Bill 2025. So, what is the necessity of this Jan Vishwas Bill 2.0? The first and foremost, decriminalization expansion. So, how it is going to achieve it? Basically, Jan Vishwas Bill 2.0 proposes decriminalization of 288 more provisions. So, basically what happens, when it comes to doing business in India, there are certain rules, regulation, compliances, and many of them are important and many of them are minor. So, because of the prevailing laws that have been already in existence in case of India, the minor rules or regulations, when are being violated by the businesses, many a times these laws cause imprisonment or heavy fines to the business entities. So, this creates a deterrence in the mind of business or industry, and to reduce this deterrence or to increasing the ease of doing business in India, government has decriminalized 288 more provisions with respect to the ease of doing business in India. So, second is with respect to the trust-based governance. So, shift from punishment to compliance through trust, reducing regulatory burden on businesses. So, what is the way forward adopted by the government? Shifting from punishment to the compliance. So, it's kind of retribution to the reformation approach and reducing the regulatory burden on businesses. So, when this particular decriminalization provisions came into existence, what will happen? There will be a trust-based governance. So, no need to go for government or government agencies every other day for taking compliances, and it will be based on trust, mutual trust, and there will be lesser regulatory burden on the businesses. Curbing corruption. Basically, there was one survey done by FICCI, the pressure group of the industry, which says that 66% businesses admitted in India paying bribes to the authorities, and basic purpose of this bill is to reduce the scope of corruption and bribery by the government agencies or regulatory agencies, so that the ease of doing business gets enhanced in case of India. Now, the next objective is simplified compliance. Basically, as of now, again, Ernst & Young and FICCI survey, as per this particular survey, Indian businesses face more than 9,400 compliance updates annually, that is 36 per day, which creates the tremendous scope for inefficiency and corruptions in terms of bribes. And this particular bill aims to ease this particular compliance burden so that the business processes will become smooth and streamlined. Boosting of FDI. Basically, again, this survey, Ernst and Young and FICCI survey, 4 out of the 5 firms in India says corruption deters the FDI. And improved framework under this Jan Vishwas Bill could attract more foreign investment. Last year, the India's FDI attracted FDI by India was almost $84 billion, and it was almost stagnant as compared to the previous year. So, in a way, such kind of regulatory burden is leading to the stagnation of the or very small growth of the FDI in case of India. Maintaining competitiveness. India must reform itself to avoid losing investment and talent to the business friendly economies like US or UK. So, basically, another purpose is like when India's environment or regulatory environment becomes business friendly, many businesses which are shifting from India either to the USA or UK or New Zealand or Singapore, they will stop here and retain themselves, thus enhancing the economic growth of India. So, what are the key highlights of the bill? The first hand, advisory or warning issued to the 76 offences under the 10 acts. Earlier, whatever the fine was there for earlier these 76 offences, there will be only warning in first instance. Imprisonment clauses for minor technical or procedural defaults replaced with monetary penalties or warning. So, earlier there were basically second provision is with respect to imprisonment clauses for minor technical and procedural defaults replaced with monetary penalties or warnings. So, earlier for even in many cases, even for the minor or technical difficulties, there were imprisonment clause. So, these kind of technical or minor offences will be replaced with monetary penalties or warnings given to the businesses instead of the imprisonment. Penalties made proportionate with the graduated penalties for repeated offences. So, what is the procedure now? There will be no penalty in case of first instance in case any offence. Again, if that offence is being done repeatedly, the proportion of penalty will go on increasing. The next is designated officers empowered to impose the penalties through administrative processes or reducing the judicial burden. So, basically, this bill brings designated officers empowerment to impose penalties on the through administrative processes. Earlier, there were certain provisions which required judiciary to intervene and to impose the penalties or heavy penalties or imprisonment on minor or technical offences. So, at present, what has been done? Earlier, wherever there was a judicial intervention required, these offences will be dealt by administrative processes, and there is no involvement of judiciary for minor or technical offences. Since judiciary itself is heavily burdened, more than 4.5 crore cases are pending in various courts of India. Automatic 10% rise in penalty every 3 years to maintain the deterrence without legislative amendments. So, again, this is inflation related provision. Every 3 years there will be 10% increase in the value of the penalty, so that there is no need for legislative amendment to increase or decrease the penalties over the years. Now, here there are 2 acts in which those minor or technical offences are being treated with the lesser penalty. These are the just examples. There were many acts, provisions of which have been decriminalized or given monetary penalties instead of imprisonment. So, let us start with the Motor Vehicles Act. These are just example, no need to remember this basically. So, there have been 20 provisions proposed in Motor Vehicles Act. Reporting period for the vehicle registration cancellation extended from 14 to 30 days. Insurer intimation period or on transfer of the insurance certificate has proposed to be extended from 14 to 30 days. So, basically what will happen because of this? There will be the simplified procedure, more time period, improved transparency in property taxation, provide relief in the vehicle related compliance, providing relaxation and clarity in case of compliance. So, there is no lesser need of the involvement of the government agencies. Apprentices Act 1961. So, basically 11 offences under this particular Apprentices Act have been converted into the advisory for the first contravention with censure or warning or penalty for every subsequent contravention. So, what are the kind of offences? Employer requiring an apprentice to work overtime without the approval of the apprenticeship advisor, or refusal to furnish information regarding the apprentice working there. So, these kind of offences which were having strict penalty earlier will be replaced with advisory at first instance and subsequently by censure or warning. So, these are the just example, no need to remember this basically. So, what is the significance of this particular Jan Vishwas 2.0 in case of India? So, first is it aims to enhance the ease of doing business and ease of living in India. So, basically in 2014 World Bank has introduced ease of doing business index, which was subsequently closed, but at that time India was having a rank almost below 90 or below 100. So, the basic purpose of this particular bill is to enhance the ease of doing business, which will subsequently lead to the increase in the ease of living in India. Second is focus on decriminalization of the minor technical or procedural offences. So, basically the purpose of this decriminalization of minor technical offences is not only to streamline the administrative processes, but also to reduce the burden on the judiciary. When it comes to the burden of the judiciary, as I have already mentioned, there are 4.5 crore cases pending in India. In case of India, almost 65% of prisoners are under trial, and almost 70% of under trials in India are from the SC, ST and OBC category, which represents the disproportionate burden of these minor technical offences on the vulnerable sections of the populations. Again, it reduces the judicial burden by empowering designated officers for administrative penalties. Again, promoting transparency, compliance and simplification of procedure, which will ultimately lead to the ease of doing business. The decriminalization effort ensures that penalties are proportionate to severity of offences while maintaining stringent punishment for the serious violation. So, basically, as I have already mentioned, when it comes to, there are many provisions or many minor offences, if done at the first instance, will be given advice, second censure or warning, and later on there will be penalty imposed. Earlier there was no any kind of differentiation between the first offence or repeated offence. Now there is a kind of intelligent differentiation between the first as well as the repeated offences. Aligning India's regulatory framework with the global business standards, promoting the investors' confidence and facilitating the smoother business operations. So, ultimately the basic purpose is to enhancing the ease of doing business in India. Now, this is the practice question. Consider the following statements regarding the significance of Jan Vishwas Bill 2025. Please solve this MCQ. Let us go into the next topic of the day, that is the 23% of the total 56 crore Jan Dhan accounts in India are inoperative. Minister of State tells Lok Sabha. So, what is the backdrop of this particular news? Rising inoperative accounts in Jan Dhan under Jan Dhan Yojana. Important from GS3, Indian economy, issues related to growth as well as the employment perspective, apart from financial inclusion as a part of social justice under GS2. Now, let us go into the detail of the news. Basically, as told by the Minister of State in the Lok Sabha, out of 56.3 crore Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana accounts at the end of July 31st, 2025, 13.4 crore account, that is 23% accounts are inoperative. It is a huge number. Uttar Pradesh has highest number of inoperative Jan Dhan accounts, 2.75 crore, followed by the Bihar 1.39 crore and Madhya Pradesh 1.07 crore. So, basically this is the statistics regarding the inoperative account or dormant account in case of Jan Dhan Yojana. So, what is a dormant account or inoperative account? Basically, as per the Reserve Bank of India guidelines, a saving account should be treated as inoperative or dormant if there are no transaction in the account for the period of 2 years. Please remember this timeline, that is 2 years. If there is no any kind of transaction in the saving account, basically it will be treated as a inoperative or dormant account. So, what are the measures for the activation? So, in considering these 30 crore accounts are inoperative or dormant, obviously the public sector banks as well as the private sector bank will take some measures. So what are the measures taken? Banks inform account holders in writing, either through letters or email or SMS, about the accounts become inactive. Also, the contact account holders of the inactive accounts through the letter, email or SMS. So either email or SMS or a written letter, public sector banks are trying to reach out to the account holders so that their account becomes don't get dormant. Government campaigns. Government is also running campaign at Gram Panchayat level campaign, which was launched on July 1st, 2025 to carry out the re-KYC, that is know your customer, of inactive Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Account Yojana. Because of this re-KYC, obviously there will be certain amount of inactive accounts will again active, or their dormancy will end, because people will again start taking interest in those accounts, or depositing money or withdrawing money from those accounts. Now let's go into certain basics of the scheme. So Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, basically this Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, it was started on August 28, 2014. More than 10 years, 1 decade it has been completed. This is a national mission for financial inclusion. And what is the objective of this particular Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana? To promote the financial inclusion in India by providing access to the financial services. And what are the different kind of financial services under this Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana? The first and foremost, banking or savings account. Second, remittances, sending or receiving of the remittances. Third, providing credit, timely credit to the account holders, including the farmers. Fourth, providing insurance services, whether it is life insurance service, then pensions from the social security perspective, affordable manner, in affordable manner. So these are the 5 different objectives of the financial inclusion: bankings or savings account, remittances, credit, insurance and pensions. Now what are the distinct benefits under the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana that will attract the unbanked population from rural as well as the urban areas? The first, one basic savings bank account is opened for every unbanked person. So any unbanked person who is the citizen of India will having one basic savings bank account. There is no requirement to maintain any minimum balance under the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. So it is almost zero balance. Recently there was ICICI Bank was in news with reference to the minimum balance being 50,000 rupees in those accounts, for which it was being severely criticized, and Reserve Bank of India had given statements subsequently that it has no control or no any regulatory power to direct bank regarding the minimum balance cap. Later on, because of the severe public criticism, ICICI Bank has decided to reduce this minimum balance from 50,000 to 15,000. Interest earned on the deposit under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana account. So if any account holder of the Jan Dhan account deposits any amount in savings account under the PMJDY, he will be liable to receive some interest under this. The RuPay debit card is provided to the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan account holder. So another, when it comes to accident insurance, it will be cover of 1 lakh rupees to the account holder of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. Subsequently, this accident insurance was enhanced to 2 lakh crore to the new Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan account holders who have opened after the account after the 2018, is available with RuPay card issued to the account holders. Again, overdraft facility, those accounts which have been satisfactorily operating, there will be an overdraft facility of 10,000. Again, this particular, since this Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana is the flagship scheme of the government as well as the Prime Minister, Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Accounts Yojana are eligible for direct benefit transfer under the Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana, Atal Pension Yojana or Mudra scheme. So basically, whatever the transaction related to the government schemes will be done by the beneficiary will be through Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana account, because of which it will the money will be kept circulating in the account in terms of different transactions. Now let's go into the achievements of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. So in terms of number of accounts opened, basically in terms of number of accounts opened, from in March 2015 more than almost 15 crore accounts were opened, and now on July 31st 2025 more than 56 crore accounts have been opened in India in almost one decade. This is a huge number, 56 crore. Now deposits, when it comes to deposits, in March 2015 deposits under the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana accounts were 15,000 crore. Now this amount has increased to the 2.64 lakh crore by 6th August 2025. And RuPay cards, you can remember this data for any financial inclusion scheme answer under the GS3. RuPay cards, 38 crore cards have been issued to the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana account holders as of 6th August 2025. So these are the key statistics related to the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. Now let's go into the significance of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. The first and foremost, financial inclusion. So as I have already mentioned, more than 56 crore accounts have been opened. This scheme has been particularly successful in bringing millions of the unbanked poor population into the formal banking system and saving them from the clutches of the moneylender system prevalent in the rural areas of the country. Social security, as I have already mentioned, there is a provision regarding the Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana. It will help those vulnerable population or poor population of the poor section of the population to bringing them into the social security bracket. Savings culture, since the bank account have been opened for the poor or vulnerable section, obviously their saving habit will be increased, as they will, and so their direct benefit transfer from the various schemes will also be deposited in those Jan Dhan accounts. So it will obviously promote the saving culture, especially in the rural India. Insurance and pensions, this account holders are being provided with the accident or life insurance and access to the pension schemes like the Atal Pension Yojana. Credit access, as I have already mentioned, those accounts which have been satisfactorily operating will be available to take overdraft facility of rupees 10,000 for small credit needs of the family. Economic impact, it mobilizes saving, increases the rural consumption, as well as supports the growth, rural India's growth. Women empowerment, large share of the accounts in of this Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana are in the names of women. Basically, almost 55% of accounts under the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana are from the women beneficiary. So obviously it is promoting their women empowerment or financial freedom of the women in rural areas. So what are the key challenges in the operation? The first and foremost is regarding the disproportionate burden on the public sector banks. 70% of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana accounts are with the public sector banks, zero balance accounts, and as I have already mentioned, almost 1/4 of accounts are dormant. So it increases the cost on the banks without any kind of substantial revenue. Weak infrastructure. As per the data given by the RBI annual report, there are only 16.7 ATMs per 1 lakh adult in the rural India, and out of these 16, many of are technically malfunctioned or inoperative because of technical aspects or poor internet connectivity. Over dependence on the business correspondent. Basically, in sync with the policy of increasing the penetration of the bank as well as account, government has introduced the scheme of Bank Mitra in 2015. So basically, these business correspondent have reached, basically there are more than 12.5 lakhs business correspondent or bank mitras in rural India, and they are being given certain amount of commission. But since the business model of banking correspondents is very low, they just get 4,000 to 6,000 rupees per month, because leads to liquidity crunch. They are not very enthusiastic about promotion of the financial inclusion through opening of accounts. Insurance and overdraft issues. Basically, only 31 crore RuPay cards issued against the 56 crore accounts. So this distribution of the RuPay card is inadequate as per the government data. When it comes to cash preference, basically 80% of the retail transaction in the rural areas remain cash based as per the RBI payments report 2023. So people are still not habituated to the doing their financial transaction to the either through digital mode or banking mode. They are still preferring cash based transaction. Fraud and misuse. Basically, CAG report 2022 flagged DBT leakages and ghost beneficiaries due to the weak Aadhaar and eKYC mechanism prevalent. So again, there have been corruption crept in which is leading to the DBT leakages and ghost beneficiaries issue. Gender gap in uses. 56% accounts in women names, but women are 13% less likely than men to actively use financial services. So although here the point is that this is as per the World Bank Findex 2021, almost 56% account are in the name of women beneficiaries, but there is a lesser tendency among the women to use these financial services under the bank. Now this is the question. Consider the following statements regarding the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. Please solve this MCQ. Now let's go into the next topic of the day, that is the release of periodic labor force survey by the government, and it reveals about the unemployment rate in India in July. So the relevance is from the perspective of GS3 Indian economy, issues relating to planning, mobilization of resources, growth, development and employment. Now let's go into the detail of the news. Basically, the rate of unemployment in the country has declined from 5.6% in June to the 5.2% in July. This is given by the periodic labor force survey. This data has been released by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. So this particular periodic labor force survey is released by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. So what are the other prominent highlight of this periodic labor force survey of July 2025? Unemployment rate, basically for the persons between age 15 to 59, it had in rural areas it was 4.4%, in urban areas it was 7.2%. So there is a bit gap between urban and rural areas. When it comes to rural areas, unemployment rate was 3.9%. For men it was 4.6%. Please take a note, in case of women it is less because there have been a feminization of agriculture in India. Almost 71% of the rural women workforce engages in agriculture. This is how the unemployment rate for the women in rural India is less as compared to the men of rural India. Now let's go to the urban areas. When it comes to women, it was 8.7% as compared to the 6.6% among the men. So in urban areas, the situation is reverse. There are relatively more women are engaged in, more women are unemployed in case of urban India than men. Now go into the next important finding of the periodic labor force survey, that is the labor force participation rate. Before we start about this, let's go into the basic. This labor force participation rate refers to the proportion of population that is either employed or actively looking at the work. So basically what does this mean? Suppose the population of any country is 100 and the population of that particular country between the 15 to 59 years, that is the working age population, is 80, and out of those 40% are employed or looking for the work. That it means that the labor force participation rate in case of that particular country is 50%. So how does this calculated? It is calculated by dividing the number of people in the labor force which are either employed or actively looking for the employment by the total working age population between 15 to 59 years. So when it comes to women, this particular labor force participation rate in July has increased to 25%, 25.5% from 24.5% in June. In case of men, it has increased to 57.4%, and for all the person, it increased. It reached to the 41.4%. In case of rural areas, labor force participation rate for men. In case of rural areas, labor force participation rate for men aged above 15 was 78.1%, and for women it was 36.9%. In case of urban areas, labor force participation rate among the female of age 15 years and above, that is between 15 to 59 years, it in July was 25.8% compared to the 75.1% observed for the males in the same age group. So this is regarding the statistics. You can utilize these statistics in employment related question of the GS3. Now let's go into the next observation of the periodic labor force survey about worker population ratio. Now basically what does this particular worker population ratio means? It defines the proportion of those who are employed among the total population. So consider the population of any particular country 100, and out of which 55 people are employed. So this means that in case of that particular country, worker population ratio is 55. At the national level it is 52%. In case of India, it is in July it was 52%, 0.8 percentile higher than the June, and in rural areas it is 54.4, and urban areas it was 47%. Now let's go into certain basics of the basically. What is unemployment? Basically, unemployment refers to the condition where individuals actively seek employment but are unable to secure a job or employment. Basically, that individual is willing to work, he is willing to work at any given salary that is prevalent in the market, but still he is not getting the work which he desires. In that case, he is considered as unemployed. So what is the importance of this unemployment indicator? It serves as a crucial indicator for denoting the nation's economic health. When it comes to unemployment rate, it is widely used as a metric and it is calculated by dividing the number of unemployed individuals by the total labor force. So this is how this particular unemployment rate is calculated, by dividing the number of unemployed individuals by total labor force. Now by International Labour Organization, unemployment is defined as being out of the job, available for the work, and actively searching for the employment. So if there is some person who is looking out for the job, he is available for the work at prevalent wages in that economy or society, and he is actively searching but still not getting the work, he is considered as unemployed. So what are the different types of unemployment? Involuntary unemployment. So people who is willing to work but unable to find the jobs because of the excess labor supply in that particular market or in economy, that is considered as unemployed. So any fresh graduate who is unable to secure the job despite giving application at various places, he can be considered as involuntary employment. Voluntary unemployment. Basically, individual refuse available jobs due to dissatisfaction of the pay or job quality or dignity or any other reason. For example, if some IIT, IIM graduate, he is preparing for civil services or any other examination, and he is not taking up the job offer which is available to him, he is considered as the voluntarily in employment. So engineer rejecting the low paying customer service job, this can be also given as the example. Now structural unemployment. Basically, it is caused by the mismatch between the workforce skills and job requirements due to the economical or technological changes. So basically, factory workers losing jobs due to the automation. This can be a given example. Or recently, few weeks ago, TCS company, the software giant, has laid off more than 12,000 employees owing to the cost cutting, but the actual reason was their inability to adapt to the artificial intelligence related skills. So this is a kind of structural unemployment. Seasonal unemployment. Now basically, temporary joblessness during off seasons in certain industries, whether it is a tourist industry or hotel industry in tourist area, or even we can give example of the ice cream factories. This can be considered as the seasonal unemployment. Cyclical unemployment. Basically, it results from the economic downturns and job lost during recession but regained during the recovery. Example can be given as layoffs in the retail sector. Disguised unemployment. So basically, more workers are employed than needed with negligible productivity contribution. The classic example is in case of India's agriculture sector. When it comes to agriculture sector contributes to the 45 to 46% of workforce in India. but it merely contributes 17% to the India GDP. So because of this mismatch, there has been a significant proportion of the disguised unemployment in case of agriculture sector in India. Frictional unemployment, short-term unemployment during the job transitions. So in case of private sector, employees keeps on changing the job in terms of the better job opportunity or better job salary, and during that intervening period he is unemployed. This considered as the frictional unemployment. Example can be software developer quitting a job for a better role. Now let's go into the periodic labor force survey. What it is basically? Basically, this periodic labor force survey was initiated by National Statistical Office, organization, autonomous institution under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation in 2017 for frequent labor force data. It gives estimates regarding the employment and unemployment indicators, for labor force participation rate, worker population ratio, unemployment rate. So it collects data it gives data regarding those employment and unemployment indicators. The survey is conducted by the National Sample Survey working under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Now there was one more caveat, basically the role of Labor Bureau. So basically the purpose or the objective of Labor Bureau is collecting, compiling and disseminating the labor and employment related statistics. So actual groundwork is being for collection of the data is being done by the Labor Bureau. In 2015 prelims there was a question regarding the Labor Bureau also. Now let's go into the practice question of the day. With reference to the periodic labor force survey, consider the following statement. Please solve this MCQ. Now let's go into the next topic of the day, that is the plastic pollution in the context of a recent impasse regarding the global plastic treaty. The talks were going on in Geneva, but ultimately they could not bring any desired result. So what is the backdrop? Global resistance to the universal treaty on the eliminating plastic pollution remains a significant challenge which is difficult to overcome in the near future. So there has been no treaty. Now important from the GS3, that is the environmental pollution and degradation perspective. Now let's go into the detail of the news. During the latest round of talks, 6th since 2022, United Nations Environmental Program again faced similar or familiar opposition while trying to get member nations to agree on a plastic pollution treaty. So since 2022, there have been 6 attempts to initiate talks and to come to the global plastic treaty, but again all these 6 attempts have been failed so far. So what are the areas of disagreements between the member countries? The first and foremost is regarding the different country blocks, disagreement among the different country blocks regarding whether a comprehensive treaty should include ban on the plastic production all over the world. So this is the most important point of disagreement between the different member groups. While polythene bags are practical as well as easy to use and cheap, the countries agree that this plastic pollution or this plastic waste has created a massive public crisis all over the world. Now let's go into the plastic pollution statistics with reference to the India. Basically, when it comes to India generates around 3.4 million tons of the plastic waste but recycles hardly 30%. So 70% of the plastic waste that is being generated in India goes into either waste or basically. Now when it comes to plastic consumption, the compound annual growth rate regarding the use of plastic has almost 10%, which is huge. So in 2016, India's plastic consumption was 14 million tons, and the same has increased to 20 million tons in 2019-30. Now India has production ban of over 20 types of the single-use plastic. This came into existence in 2022 in light of the increasing menace of the plastic pollution all over the India. Now let's go into the global statistics with reference to the plastic pollution. So basically, as per the data given by the United Nations Environmental Program, entire world produces more than 430 million tons of the plastic annually, 2/3 of which is part of short-lived products that soon become the waste or plastic waste. Overall, 46% of the plastic that is being produced annually become a landfill, while 22% is mismanaged and becomes the litter. So this is the statistics related to the plastic production as well as the plastic waste all over the world. In 2019, a plastic, that is the derivative of the fossilized crude, generated 1.8 billion metric tons of the greenhouse gas emission. So plastic pollution is not just with reference to the waste it has been creating, it is about the greenhouse gas it is creating, leading to the global warming. So it is leading to the 1.8 billion metric tons of the greenhouse gas emission all over the world, equivalent to the 3.4% of the global total. So this is the role of plastic pollution in global warming. Now let us go into the challenges with reference to the banning of the plastic or banning the plastic production or coming to any concrete treaty with reference to the global plastics menace. So what is the first and foremost reason? Limited success of the past efforts in case of, not just in case of India but also the world. So why it is happening so? Basically, attempts at recycling as well as the collection of the plastic have shown very limited results or limited financial gains. Evidence shows that plastic continues to enter human, animal as well as the marine food systems unabatedly owing to its increased menace. There has been no global consensus on recognizing plastic's toxicity and enforcing the reduction. So whatever the ill effects of the plastic, whether they are on the human body or whether they are on the animals or on marine food chains, there has been no global consensus about its ill effects. Now impact on the vulnerable regions. So basically certain countries of the world are more vulnerable to the menace of this plastic pollution. The first and foremost among them are the island nations as well as the coastal territories that are being heavily impacted by the plastic pollution. So these small island countries, their coasts are filled with the plastic pollution that has been coming from the distant territories, ultimately leading to the destruction of the coastal ecosystem of the small nations as well as impacting the global tourism potential of the small countries. Example can be taken as the Pacific Island small countries or Maldives, which is near India. Shores are swamped with the plastic waste from the oceans that has been coming from the distant nations. Now the new threat is regarding the microplastics. So basically what is microplastic? These are the granular forms of the plastics which are identified as a small pieces of the plastics which are and usually smaller than the 5 millimeter. And why they are considered as a very threatening to the humankind or entire environment? They are persistent, they are very mobile and hard to remove from the nature. So it is very difficult to remove those microplastic beads from the nature, and they have potential to cause long term harm not just to the ecosystem but also the human health. Now let us go into the basics. When it comes to microplastic, as I have already mentioned, less than 5 millimeter, they are less than 5 millimeters in diameter, and there are two types of the microplastics. The first is with reference to the primary microplastics. So basically tiny particles intentionally manufactured for the commercial use. Primary, when it comes to the primary microplastic, they have been intentionally manufactured, okay, for commercial use. Example can be cited as the cosmetics. Examples also they include the microfibers shared from the textiles or fishing nets. These microplastic or primary microplastic enter into the environment via product use or spilled during the manufacturing or transport or abrasion during the washing plastic related instruments or equipments. What are the secondary microplastic? These are formed by the breakdown of larger plastic items, for example plastic bags or plastic bottles, which are disintegrated over the time, and they are mainly caused by sunlight or UV radiation or ocean wave action. So whatever the plastic waste that has been accumulating in the ocean, basically that gets broken into the small particles as a result of the heavy wave action or as a result of the sunlight or UV radiation, and becomes converted into the secondary microplastics. Now as per the author of this article, what are the measures needed to tackle the menace of this plastic pollution? The first is with respect to the market based approach. So author here argues for the converting plastic control of the plastic pollution through a market based approach. This can be achieved through providing or offering better incentives for the markets to improve the collection and recycling. Now, second is with respect to the source reduction. Basically, here author argues that a real solution lies in reducing the plastic pollution at the source. So, what do we mean by the reducing plastic pollution at source? Basically, it refers to the act of minimizing or eliminating plastic consumption and waste generation from the very beginning of the product's life cycle, rather than the focusing solely on recycling or disposal after use. So, there is a primary focus has to be shifted from recycling and disposal after use to the elimination of the plastic consumption. Example can be taken, if we go to any mall, whatever goods we borrow or merchandise we borrow, they give us paper based bag rather than plastic based bag, which is being charged. So, this create incentives for disincentives for the person to bring plastic. It involves redesigning of the products and packaging to use lesser plastics, shifting to reusable or refillable alternatives. So, basically it also involves an innovative component in which whatever the goods or things which we are manufacturing, there will be lesser and lesser amount of the plastic component in it, and other components can be included which are biodegradable. Ultimately, it will lead to the lesser plastic waste overall. So, these are the measures needed by the author. Now, in case of India, what are the government initiatives to tackle the plastic pollution? The first and foremost is with respect to the Plastic Waste Management Rule 2016. So, basically those rules have been issued under the Environmental Protection Act 1986. And what were the basic objectives of these rules? To minimize the plastic waste generation, prevent littering of the plastic waste, and mandating segregated storage and handover of the plastic waste. So, these are the multifold objectives of the Plastic Waste Management Rules 2016. These rules have subsequently altered or modified over the period of time 3 to 4 times in last 10 years. These rules basically also introduced concept of the extended producer responsibility. Basically, it involves producers or importers or brand owners which are creating plastic waste should be responsible for pre and post consumer packaging waste. So, if we are taking any good which is made of the plastic, after it is being segregated, it will be the responsibility of that particular brand owner to ensure the collection of that plastic waste. This particular provision was opposed by the industry, considering the distant nature of the use of the any good that is being produced or being sold by that particular industry. Minimum thickness of the plastic carry bags has increased to 15 microns. So, there will be more and more cost for production of the plastic. This particular thickness has again over the period has been increased to the 100 microns. Single use plastic ban. Basically, in 2022, government has introduced single use plastic ban for the items which are of low utility and high littering potential. National Plastic Pollution Reduction Campaign. So, basically this campaign has been introduced in government offices basically to reduce the single use plastics in the government offices and promotion of the eco-friendly alternatives. So, let us go into the practice question of this particular article. Consider the following statements regarding the microplastic. Please solve this MCQ. Now, let us go into the next topic of the day, global hunger and India. So, what is the backdrop of this particular news? This particular article has been written by the chief economist of the Food and Agriculture Organization. And what is the backdrop? Progress of India in agri-food system transformation is not just a national imperative, but it is important for the global contribution towards the elimination of the hunger. This is the basic objective or basic summary that has been given by the author of this particular article. This particular relevance is from GS to issues related to poverty and hunger. Now, let us go into the detail of the news. Basically, global chronic undernourishment is showing welcome decline. As per the author, global chronic undernourishment is showing welcome decline as per the United Nations State of Food Security and Nutrition in World 2025 report. So, please remember this report, United Nations State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World 2025 report, that in all over the world 673 million people, that is the 8.2% of the world population, were undernourished in 2024 against 688 million in 2023. So this particular say 8.2% of the world population is undernourished. This has been improvement as compared to the 2023, but at the same time author subsequently highlight that in pre-pandemic years, that is before the COVID-19 pandemic, this particular value was 7.3% in 2018. So we are lagging behind the pre-pandemic levels. India has been central, as per the author, India has been central to this progress of reduction in the undernourishment induced people, affected people, with policy investment in food security and nutrition, and which is subsequently strengthened by adoption of the digital technology, smarter governance interventions and improved service delivery, which has played a decisive role in reducing hunger in case of India. Now basically let's go into certain basic aspects of the hunger. So what is hunger? Basically, as per the Food and Agriculture Organization definition, hunger is habitual or chronic consumption of too few calories to provide minimum dietary energy to an individual, which requires a healthy and productive life. So for example, if there is a full grown adult male who is requiring, for example, 2500 calories for daily consumption, and because of the financial poverty or any other reason, he has not been able to take this particular requirement of 2500 calories. In that way, he is hungry, he is suffering from the hunger. So it is an uncomfortable or painful physical sensation caused by insufficient consumption of the dietary energy or food. So it is one of the most important significant manifestation of the poverty. So this is the definition of the hunger that has been given by the Food and Agriculture Organization. So what are the different types of hungers? Basically, the first and foremost is acute hunger. It designates undernourishment over a definable period. The most extreme form of hunger arises from crises like droughts or El Nino or wars. Example can be taken as the present crisis. Every other day, the people who have been standing in the row of the food aid are being targeted, because of which it has been facing one of the worst severe crisis of the hunger, as suggested by the report given by the United Nations. The second is with respect to the chronic hunger. Basically, it designates the state of long-term undernourishment. The body absorbs less food than it needs. It usually arises in connection with the poverty. Again, this is the chronic hunger issue. Again, this can be taken in the context of Gaza crisis. The people, that particular war has been raging since last 2 years, and people have been facing the crisis of hunger. Hidden hunger. So it is one of the most important form of the hunger. Basically, chronic hunger. Due to an unbalanced diet, there is a lack of important nutrients such as iron, iodine, zinc or vitamin A. So it's kind of nutrition poverty or nutrition related hunger in case of inadequate consumption of the important nutrients. So let's go into the status of hunger in case of India, as well as the progress that has been achieved by India in case of tackling the menace of hunger. So as per the revised estimates using the National Sample Survey data on household consumption, the prevalence of undernourishment in India has declined from 14.3% in 2020-22 to 12% in 22 to 24. So there has been substantial decline in the prevalence of undernourishment. In absolute terms, 30 million population are living with hunger, fewer population living with hunger. So at least 30 million population have come out of the menace of the hunger in last 3 years. Now, what are the factors that have been responsible for achieving this significant task? The PDS transformation in case of India, public distribution transformation. So this PDS system in India has been revitalized through various governance interventions like digitization. Example can be taken as the Chhattisgarh model of PDS, Aadhaar enabled targeting. Although this Aadhaar enabled linkaging of the PDS has proved to be the controversial, because certain beneficiaries in tribal areas of the Jharkhand were not able to receive their allocated share of the food grains. Real-time inventory tracking. This particular governance reform was initiated in the Kolhapur district of Maharashtra, which was again replicated all over India on a larger scale. Biometric authentication. This has been introduced, although this is still under the implementation. The rollout of the electronic point of sale systems and one nation, one ration card platform, which has made entitlement portable across the country. Yes, this is also one of the one nation, one ration card platform. Again, this has made entitlements under the National Food Security Act portable across the country, and certainly contributed for the reduction of hunger. This is particularly crucial for the internal migrants as well as the vulnerable households who are in the constant state of migration in India, within India. Also, it ensures access to the subsidized staples for more than 800 million people. So, basically under National Food Security Act of India, 81 crore people of 81 crore population, which is more than the entire population of the Europe, is being given access to the free food grains, basically improving the quality of calories. So, it is not just about the food security, it is about the nutritional security also. So, what are the interventions that have been taken place for the ensuring the nutritional security in case of India? The PM Poshan scheme. It is a flagship school feeding scheme, and also the ICDS, Integrated Child Development Services, are focusing on the dietary diversity and nutritional sensitivity for the long-term improvement in the child development as well as the public health. So, basically what has been happening under this ICDS as well as the PM Poshan schemes, focus is not just on providing the food, it is also on providing the nutritious or nutritionally dense food, which will ensure that there is no any kind of nutritional deficiency in the children, so that their development and growth takes place in a good manner. Also, UN report shows that progress in making healthy diets is more affordable despite food inflation. So, this is basically about ensuring the healthy diets for the nutrition security rather than just food security. So, what are the challenges that have been there in the way of food, ensuring the food security as well as the nutritional security in case of India? First and foremost, the affordability issue. Over 60% of the India's population cannot afford the healthy diet due to the high prices of the nutrient-rich foods or poor cold chain infrastructure or the weak market linkages. Basically, when it comes to nutrient-rich foods like pulses, access to the protein, they are quite costly. No pulse in India comes under the less than 150 rupees kg. So, it is very difficult or out of reach of the poor population, because of which almost 60% of the India's population cannot afford the healthy diet. Now, next is micronutrient deficiency. Despite falling hunger rates, 35% children in under 5 in India are stunted. Stunted means they are having less height as compared to the age, and 19.3% are wasted, means they are having chronically low weight which is needed for their height as well as the age. So, as per the NFHS 5, this is the data regarding the wasting as well as the stunting under 5 children in India. When it comes to micronutrient deficiency, India has been witnessing the pandemic of iron deficiency anemia, which is affecting the 57% of the women between 15 to 49 years and 67% of the children. Now, double burden of the malnutrition. So, in case of India faces the paradox, that is the while undernutrition persists in case of India, obesity as well as the diet related non-communicable diseases are increasingly disproportionately, especially among the urban poor population. So, as per the Lancet magazine report, 44 crore people in India could be obese by 2050. So, there was a recent study conducted by the Indian Council of Medical Research that almost 85% of the youth which is working in the Hyderabad IT sector has been facing liver related complications because of the obesity. So, this is the status of the obesity in case of India. Regional and social inequality. So, basically this hunger and malnutrition are disproportionately higher in the states like Bihar, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh and UP. So, since more and more poor number of people or marginalized group are being concentrated in those 4 states. So basically this example, in case of social inequality, this hunger and malnutrition problem is disproportionately higher in the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe or rural poor. So example can be cited as there are various tribal hotspots in India which are being chronically suffered by this hunger and malnutrition. Example can be taken Palghar, which is the tribal dominated district in Maharashtra, again the Melghat area, which is again the tribal dominated area, or we can also take the example of the Sukma in Chhattisgarh, which was the chronically Nakshal affected area. That was also the facing of menace of the hunger as well as the malnutrition. Then post harvest losses. So basically as per the Food and Agriculture Organization data, 13% of the food is lost between harvest and market. This is the FAO estimates for India, but as per the Central Institute for Post Harvest Research, in case of India, it is 9 to 10%. So that data can be used more credibly because it is also the government institution, Government of India. Now, what is the correlation between the climate change, agriculture and hunger and malnutrition? So basically, rising temperature as well as the increase in the incidences of the erratic rainfall, reducing the yields of staples like wheat and rice, lowering the nutrient content of the crops like zinc, protein and iron. So the impact of the climate change on food security is not in just terms of the quantity but also in terms of quality, because the proportion or the quality of the essential nutrients that are the part of the various food grains like zinc, protein, that has been decreasing owing to the climate change induced ill effects in the food grains. Now, what are the measures needed when it comes to the ensuring the food as well as the nutritional security? Boost production and affordability of the nutritious foods. So the point has to be noted, nutritious foods. Basically in case of India, the staple foods like the rice as well as the wheat, they are in the abundant proportion available, but when it comes to the nutritious foods like pulses, fruits, vegetables, animal source products, then their production needs to be increased through either through the crop diversification or various government incentives given to the producers. India, when it comes to pulses, basically India is the largest producer of pulses, largest consumer of the world of pulses and largest importer also. 14% of the pulse import of the world is being done by the India. India imports pulses either from Southeast Asia or various African countries. Pulses account for almost 20% of the area under food grains in case of India and contribute to the 7 to 10% of the total food grain production in the India. So this is important regarding the nutritional security. This data can be utilized in the agriculture related answers as well as the food security related answers in GS3 part. Promotion of the biofortified crops. Again, this is the government intervention has been done in various states on a pilot scale. Promotion of the biofortified crops. The response has been mixed in different section of the population in different states. Post-harvest infrastructure development. Here authors suggest investment in cold storage, warehouse, processing units to reduce the 13% of food loss. So author here suggests to reduce this significant portion, that is 13% of the food loss which is being done post-harvestly. That can be done by increased investment in the cold storage warehouses. There are various schemes like for the construction of the warehouses by government. Expansion of the rural food processing cluster under the PM formalization of the micro food enterprises. This is very significant intervention of the food processing industry to promote the rural food processing clusters in India, basically in eastern and northeastern states which are having the tremendous potential when it comes to the food processing. Empowering the local communities and women, again strengthening the support for women led food enterprises or local cooperatives or including the farmer producer organization. The women led food enterprises, again example can be taken from the Kutumbashri of Kerala and local cooperatives. Example can be taken from the various cooperative giants in case of Maharashtra, Gujarat, Amul. Farmer producer organization. Recently our Prime Minister has inaugurated 10,000 food producer organization in Bihar. and we need to promote those APOs, especially those cultivating the climate resilient crops, leveraging of digital technologies. So, use of platforms like AgriStack, ENAM, geospatial data tools to strengthen the market access, improve the agricultural planning and enhance the delivery of nutritional sensitive interventions. The example can be taken as a cooperation between the government of Karnataka and Infosys regarding the precision agriculture to promote the quality and quantity of the crops. Climate resilient agri-food systems, promotion of the sustainable farming practices including the organic. India is one of the largest producer of the organic food and food grains in all over the world. Support water efficient irrigation and resilient seed varieties. Again, our ICAR has been developing various food varieties that is resilient not just to the climate change but also various kinds of stress like excessive rainfall or excessive drought over prolonged period. So, let us go into the conclusion part. As a leader among the developing countries, India is well positioned to share its innovation in digital governance, social protection, data driven agriculture with others across the global south. So, the path to ending global essentially runs through India, and its continued leadership is essential to getting us there to achieve the goal of hunger free world by 2030 under the sustainable development goal. This is all for let's go into the question. The path to ending global hunger runs through India. Discuss India's role in the global agri-food system transformation and its contribution towards achieving the sustainable development goal, that is zero hunger. Please write the answer of this question. This is all for the day. Thank you for listening.